Hello, welcome to this video. This is how it walked versus how it rode. Thought people might find it interesting. I was really lucky. My horse came out the start box absolutely fabulously. She's quite a forward-going horse, so I had to make sure that she was sort of like listening and balanced and not too fast because she can come out of the start box quick. What I've done is got the equereel here, and then I've interspaced some footage of other people took, so I thought people might like to have a look at things from a different angle. Hopefully you'll find it interesting, but the first two fences are nice and straightforward, so to get you going and get you in the right rhythm. I am lucky to be on a fabulous cross-country horse. She never used to be like this, but she's become better and better over the years because I've worked really hard to build her confidence. But yeah, just started off great, so it gives you loads of confidence when they come out the start box feeling like that. So for any trickier fences, I've put a bit of the course walk in for when I did it with some explanations, so I hope you find that interesting.
So this is very clever. It's got a really quite an undulating line, and your line is actually this one where it stays sort of in the middle. So you've got to let the horse have a bit of time to balance themselves, not go too fast, which will be tricky for me, but this is why we've been practicing mounds. And then it's not a very big stone wall and you've got plenty of level flat strides. But what comes after it is a decent enough fence, which you can just see in the background. You've also got these bits of sand. Luckily, you've got the first bit of sand for them to spook at, which is away from the fence. And then sit up, recover if you need to, because they're a bit spooky and about the change of surface. And then up the mound. So you don't want to be going too fast, because they need to power up the mound. And it's a nice straightforward fence, but it's quite a decent height, so you still need lots of power.
So this one actually rode better than I thought it walked. She didn't actually look at any of the track that I thought she might do or any of the sand. She was totally on her A game. And actually, because she was lovely and forwards, she came up the mound beautifully to this quite decent sized hedge and had loads of power. So when you're riding that kind of feeling, it's just wonderful when they're absolutely on their A game. You know, on a horse that's maybe a bit stuffy coming out, it might be very different. But yeah, I was really chuffed because this does come up early. It's got a little bit of question with the undulations. And yeah, she was just absolutely fantastic. You know, I had the turning, I had the pace that I wanted, and then, you know, she gave me a fabulous jump out over, as I said, it was quite a tricky little skinny fence, which you could see in that course walk. But yeah, that's what I was most worried about, the landing, and she didn't even look.
So next you've got this Dracana. Just need to come and slant slightly because you can see ropes behind, so actually just need to make a very slight turn to get it straight. And then it's a straightforward fence, so you just need to eyes up, head up and ride for it. It's got a decent enough ditch on it, but you know, it's kind. There we go. So don't dwell over this kind of thing. And crack on. But yeah, then we run slightly uphill, so this is where I need to be really positive and make sure I get away quickly.
So this road, pretty much as expected, actually caused a lot more problems on the day than I think I was expecting. It caused quite a lot of stops. I think people just weren't quite switched on to how big it was. Said this is the previous fence before, but you're going to get a rear view of us going over it. Because I had the feedback that it was riding quite tough and people were having stops, I made sure I really sat down and really rode for it. In a second you'll see my elbows go because that's normally my telltale sign. I don't ride with a whip, so I have to make sure that I use my voice as an aid instead. And there you go, you can see elbows flapping slightly, but yeah, she's straight on it and didn't really look at it. So it comes up early, that fence, and it's a decent size, but yeah, she's a pretty brave cross-country horse, and yeah, very lucky to be sat on her, really.
So then we've arrived at the first combination. The actual fence isn't very big, but there's a lot going on the landing. So my plan is to jump slightly right of centre, come down the mound. Here we go. Try and be just the other side of this little stony bit. And then put some very slight shape in, not too much, you've got a bit of time. So it's obvious that we're jumping straight, like that. And then to whiz on. It's the complexity is made by having quite a forward-going horse with your mound, so you don't want to be too fast, and then having the balance at the bottom to be able to ride up the mound and then over this.
So I think this was the fence I was second most worried about on the track, mostly because she starts off very full of running and very full of it. So for me, I wanted to make sure that she was listening and that she was paying attention, because sometimes she can come out and be a bit bold and a bit full of it and not turn necessarily. But as you see, she made a beautiful job of it. So I was absolutely chuffed to bits. Here it is from a different angle in a second. But yeah, I absolutely followed my plan and she was on it. Made sure I wasn't too fast, made sure I had really good balance, especially going up and down those mounds. From this angle, you can actually see them a bit better about how undulating it is. But you know, she's so good at getting between the flags. So as you can see, I was really chuffed. She got a good pat for that and told how good she was. This was just a straightforward brush fence, which she jumped beautifully. The fence afterwards, I had to make sure that she wasn't on too long a stride. She's got a very long stride, so I had to bring her back a bit and make sure she popped through. But even then, you can see she still makes it look really short from both angles. So yeah, I could have brought her back even slightly more, but it just wasn't very big to back her off, and she just made it feel easy. And then this one, she spooked at the dirt on landing, but luckily it's got so much scope and ability, she still jumped.
Yeah. So it's the intensity of the course that makes it quite interesting, you know, that you don't get, unlike a normal 100 where you probably have 4 combinations, this has combination after combination and very few let-up fences. So it comes up quite quickly. So it really tests you all the way around. And, you know, you've got to just be at the top of your game, which I find really hard. Because let's be honest. So this is quite a stiff brush coming up. It's a good question. It's a decent size. It looks worse because it's on the edge of a hill as well. And you don't want to be too fast because the brush is stiff and it's quite an upright fence. So you almost want to jump it like a gate. And then you drop away. The second one's actually nicer and you don't need to walk your strides, but you just need to be setting up right for this. Have good power forwards, come down the hill, rebalance about here so you're not just landing flat and then on their faces. So rebalance early and then to ride forwards. And then actually the out's nicer and you can just come a bit normally. But yeah, very decent combination, which needs respect. You can see there the hill. And this is what always makes this course very hard, is actually it's always testing your balance and your accuracy.
So I think if I hadn't had my trainer there to take me through this, I would have jumped this as a normal hedge and been a bit too forwards, but instead I balanced her a lot more. I think it caused one fall from somebody being a bit too forwards at it. But yes, you can see we're not particularly fast at it and we get a really good shot at it. So thank goodness for my trainer telling me how to ride it, because I would never have, with that stiff upright brush, I probably would never have ridden it as gate and probably been a bit more forwards at it, which would have got me into a whole world of problems running down the hill. But instead, no, she was absolutely super over it. So there we are, the fences just before. It's a lovely track to ride around because it's just really galloping and undulating and just everything you could ever want in a cross country, with the ground being super. You know, everybody always dreams of a lovely track that's really great to gallop around, and that is certainly what you get with this. And you can see why so many people make the effort to be there and why qualification is so hard. But here we are coming down to it. There you go, there's the 5-star fence in the background. And she is a super galloping horse, so that really helps. You know, you hardly have to use any leg and she's just off. So as a rider, that's great. The biggest thing is always managing her stride length. As you can see, bringing her back. I think I do a good job here. For me, having a plan cross country is super because I like a plan and to follow it. So that really helped. And as you can see, she came through that brilliantly. I was chuffed to bits for her.
So this is an open 4 and you need your line to be spot on. So the actual corner itself isn't very wide, so you want to be looking for between the flag and the Christmas tree. But where the technicality comes in on this, if this is a single fence on your own, you'd be like, this is fine. But it's now a forward open, so I want to be on that middle. And then, so I'm going to be there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There, spot on. 4. Just keep coming.
So here we are, got a lovely gallop up the hill, everyone's dream. And then we've got this blue wagon in front of the fence, which sort of doesn't set you up. It encourages you to be open and over it. So managed to balance her. And then, of course, coming up, you've got these corners. So I got exactly how I wanted it. In fact, we actually jumped in so calmly that we actually had to make up the distance, which I realised about there. You can see the old shoulders flapping. And again, luckily, she's got so much scope that it just makes it feel easy. And then onto these wishing wells. They're a little bit of a tricky roadblock, so you just had to be careful. 1 or 2 people did have problems there. I think somebody fell off just because it wasn't a very big fence and it was just a little bit trappy. This was a lovely forwards fence before you came up to this.
So it's a good brush in, so asking you to go forwards. And then I'm going to jump it slightly to the left because where Sarah is behind me, if you can see you. And then it's a forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20. Spot on, I hit that perfectly. It's a little bit long, so you need to be forwards. But yeah, and you want to be in the middle of that barrel. Very good question. Lots going on around here. And then you actually are being made to ride forwards.
And she made this feel ridiculously easy, even though it was quite a technical fence, and made all the striding absolutely spot on.
So then we come to the famous Badminton Lake. So this is do not be too fast. There's an awful lot for them to see and going on, which they think they're jumping into. So it's not a very big fence in, so you want a really good bouncy coffin canter. Say, come on, get right behind them, shoulders back. And then you land, they'll probably look at the water, just because of the way it is, so then you need to pick up the pace quite quickly because you've got a decent out. So you want to curve around, give yourself as much space as possible to get straight. It's not very deep. And then you've got a natural little bit of a lip coming up, so you need quite a lot of power. So you really need to ride for your life here and say, come on, come on. And then you jump that and you've got a bit of a roller coaster. So it all comes up quite quickly, but it is numbered separately. That's A, B with it out. It's a nice hedge, but there's so much going on, you need their brain with you. And then you can take a good, nice wide turn, which will come up because you're so busy trying to make this happen. And then you've got a nice out, which you can sort of straighten up for. But yeah, you need to be really on it, really thinking ahead, because everything's interrelated.
Then we're on to the Badminton Lake. I was very cautious here just because there was a lot to look at, and actually she didn't even look. She was on it. She never gets the highest going in. And actually this fence is probably the one I was most surprised about. You see, she's just a bit spooky because they couldn't see their landing. So that caught me slightly by surprise, but then she comes out and perhaps could have been a little bit better balanced on this turn. But, you know, it was never in doubt, and she was a very good girl. So here's the slow-mo. As you can see, she's on it. And you can see how she's a little bit spooky, and actually you can see how I have to sort of like get there and say, come on, let's go. And then she sort of notices she can't see the ground very well, and there's a bit spooky and jumping, but she's always going. I noticed actually quite a few horses, when you look at their photos over this fence, are all doing the same thing. So it's an interesting one because you actually have to ride a lot stronger out than you think you need to. And then she's super over that little skinny at the end, and away she goes. What a horse. She really is fabulous in every way. Well, sometimes, but most of the time. And then we had this little fence here, and actually it's probably our worst jump. I think it was a lot smaller than she was expecting. So even though it's in front of the Badminton house and, you know, expects a marvellous photo, she could have done with a bigger fence. But, you know, we were safe and sound. It was never going to cause us any trouble. But, yeah, just one of those ones you sort of need to be a little bit careful about. And then we're sort of heading home. You know, we were so up on our time at this point because she's such a galloper. And, you know, you can see I've eased down on the speed because I think we were at 30 seconds up in time and I needed to be within a 15-second window. So we're just popping as we go along, not racing too quickly because, as I said, she's got an endless stride, and around this type of galloping track, it's just absolutely made for her. So yeah, we're just on an easy canter, trying not to make any mistakes. So this was just a good roadblock, but again, you see she turns and she's super over it, and nice and careful, which you want. Certainly don't want them leaving a leg at a fence like that. And then we've got the last two fences. So again, you can see I'm just in a hand canter, easing down. trying not to go too fast, checking my watch because we were so good on time. It's a course of dreams to ride round. It really is a marvellous feeling. And then to go home, to get through those finished flags, you're absolutely chuffed to bits. So it's worth all the pain and the hard work and the money qualifying, because it really is fabulous to go and do.